Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. It's wonderful having you with me this morning. Before we get started, this is a very sensitive topic that I chose due to the fact of so many, things that are going on, especially in women. So this is going to be like a woman's topic today. Not saying a man can't have some of these symptoms, but this is really going to be focused on women. When the issues of the heart, which is in the emotions, become a damage to the body. Yes, that's exactly what I said. When the issues of the heart becomes a damage to the body. So stay in tune and you're going to learn something. You're going to learn something about yourself, but also about your immune system and how emotions affect us very deeply. So thank you, and I'll see you in just a moment. Stay tuned. Oh, this is going to get problem. Oh, what's this? Okay. Ah, stay there. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Whew. Okay, let's see if that works. Guess it won't because it's interfering. Ah, okay. Let's move that. As I was saying, that our topic today is focusing on the emotional damages of, our in our physical bodies. In our physical bodies, a lot of times when we go through a whole lot of changes, that we don't realize how much damage is being done, in our physical bodies, because we're too busy feeling, we're too busy going through. So we don't know exactly, all of the ramifications and the outcomes of, stress. Stress causes sickness, it causes damages in the cell structure, mental illness, the list goes on. It causes so much inside of our being. And it's just really, really important for us to take the time and breathe and get oxygen and find ourselves in a safe place. When we're not in a safe place, guys, then things start to happen. We start to experience things that we don't want to experience, nightmares, daymares sometimes. Sometimes we lose focus, we get mind fog, our blood pressure will shoot up, or it may even get low. I mean, because we are experiencing and we have become the thing that we fear the most. So it's just really important that we take care of ourselves and be mindful of our being, sometimes we become this human doing thing and we don't realize that we really need to be. What does it mean to be? Just be to a point where I am content with whatever, bad, good, or ugly. I am content with it. It's okay, because if I can't change it, what else can it be but okay? It's not that you agree with it, but you don't become the thing that's destroying you. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to become the thing that's destroying you. So let's just, really take the time and analyze our lives and look from the deepest parts of ourselves and see, over the years, from childhood trauma to the present moment, how have you been working through your emotions? Have you been suppressing those emotions? Have you been oppressed, depressed? Because it's all involved in your being. So we want to take a closer look at that and see how we can, rectify a lot of these things. You may need to finalize some things. Yes, finalize some things that you've been running away from, some things that you have been not taking seriously, some things that's been troubling you concerning people, situations, circumstances, and some things you're going to have to let go of, because we roll tape 24/7, rolling tape over and over and over and over. What do you think is happening in your brain? Your brain is releasing hormones, is releasing cortisol, is releasing all of these things that sometimes and most of the time turns into stress radicals. Stress radicals causes so much damage in the immune system, because now this thing called adrenaline that was trying to prepare you for fight, flight, or freeze has become a ongoing thing. And when adrenaline is released in our body at inopportune times, it turns into other toxic chemicals that attack our immune systems. So I just want to really talk about that and talk about the situations surrounding that. So if this is something that you struggle with, controlling your emotions, I want to give you some tips, some strategies, so that you will be able to focus yourself when you feel overwhelmed and pull yourself back, so you can analyze, like, what's going on in my life, what's happening, what's happening with me, because that's so important that we pay attention to ourselves, because we don't do enough of that. We don't do enough of paying attention. We pay attention to everyone else, but we don't pay attention to ourselves. And forget the lighting on my face. It's coming through my blinds. I was trying to move away from it, but it just seems like it's there and it looks a little weird. But the sun will keep rising and it'll go away in a minute. But childhood trauma is real. So let's get started. I want to introduce my co host, Naima Latif, our executive producer. As always, on my team.
Yes.
Morning, morning.
Oh
I was
man,
trying to move away from the
goodness.
sunlight, but it just seems to want to find me today.
Sometimes that's how it is. So I guess that means that you're
Yes,
letting your light shine. But
exactly.
that's great.
Yes, yes.
That's you're reflecting sunlight.
I am reflecting sunlight and didn't even put the mic on, just talking. I'm just hoping nobody heard me.
Oh yeah, we heard you.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's awesome. Yeah, we have a real sensitive topic today. This was one of the topics that I actually did where I work at the hospital, and it was such an in-depth topic. I said, maybe I need to talk about that online. Yeah, I
Well,
definitely need
I
to talk
think that
about
would
that
be
online.
very helpful because I've had fibroids, had heartbreak, and I'm
Hmm.
sure there's some. Well, as a matter of fact, I know I read about the connection between your emotions, especially when it has to do with a personal relationship and
Hmm.
productive organs, and
Yeah.
how that directly affects. Because I know so many women that have fibroids, that have uterine cancer, and they've had a bad breakup that hurt them, and so you start to see the connection and how our bodies are telling us that it's that area of our body that is giving us the message that our feelings of womanhood have been damaged, and that's where the damage manifests in our bodies. So I'm really excited to hear more about this topic.
Absolutely. It is where our emotions, because our emotions is nothing but energy. And those emotions travel. They travel everywhere. They travel all through our being, from the top of our head to the soles of our feet. And with women, we actually carry most of our emotions in our womb, and we don't even
Wow.
realize that.
Wow.
I did a study on this, and there's several practitioners out there that actually been focusing on women issues.
Mm.
And what I found out, Naima, is that fibroids, including fibromyalgia, what these are those illnesses that are created by damaged emotion and suppressed emotions.
Ooh, wow.
So I
Wow.
went to look a little deeper. I said, because I know energy travels throughout the body. So, and with women, because we are childbearers, the strongest organ next to our heart in our bodies is our womb. And the womb, but houses life. Think about that. It houses life, which means
Wow.
there's no other part of our body that we can house life in but the womb. So all
Mhm.
of the energy goes to the womb. So the emotions that we feel concerning life, you see what I'm saying? Whether it's happiness or any negative event, goes directly to the womb. It goes
Yeah.
there. Now the thing about this is what happens because of the cortisol that's released from our brain with adrenaline when we are under fire. Under fire, for example, if we're under any kind of pressure, like you say, from a heartbreak, from disappointment, from grief, anything that takes us out of our peace center, when our hearts become closed, the heart closes when we're under fire and it opens when
Mm.
we are at peace. Remember that
Mm.
it closes when we're under fire and it opens when we are at peace. So when the heart is closed, what happens is those emotions have to go somewhere. So they go
Mm.
to our womb in a woman.
Wow.
And those and that ear, because of the pressure and the stress. Think about it. If the mind feels stress, can you
Yeah.
imagine what the wound would feel? What do you think would happen? It interrupts the blood flow. Let's get a little deeper.
You're
It interrupts the blood flow, and the blood flow starts coagulation, and the cells don't rebuild themselves
mm,
properly. So here comes those damaged cells that turn into scar tissue, because that's what damaged cells does. And that's the same process as in cancer. It turns into damaged tissues because if cells don't reproduce themselves, they turn into scar tissue. Scar tissue is one of those things that soak up the nutrients around that cell
oh,
structure.
oh, wow.
And that's the reason why the fibroids start to develop. It started off with like a little small scar tissue, and then over periods of time is when those emotions are, like I said, are flowing. Those damaged, those, and it's the damaged emotions. It's not the emotions that are full of joy or peace. It's the emotions that we feel on the intensity, and so it affects the muscle because the uterine area is mostly muscle because that's what the wound is a huge muscle type of house. I mean, it's hard to describe it, but
Mm,
it's there, and those muscles become tense
yeah.
anytime we go through our emotions and we get upset. They become tense, and sometimes it's like from the mild emotions, the mild tense like irritation, frustration. Mm. And you
Wow.
can feel the tension, right?
Yeah.
So once those tensions start to be like an ongoing thing, and when you don't know how to filter your emotions, your wound just keeps doing
Tensing
this.
up.
It's like a heartbeat,
Wow.
right? And then it gets comfortable, and then after a while it don't release. It just remains tense, and
So now,
that's what breaks down the blood flow. Because think about it, if something's in tension, how can the vessels flow through it? How can the blood and the plasma flow through it? Because it's a living breathing thing, right? That's what
right.
it
So
is.
I have a question, and maybe a lot of people have experienced this during puberty. If you had a difficult time, maybe you were in a household where there was dysfunction, you were feeling unloved, that kind of thing, and you're going through the menstrual cycle, and the cramps become so intense. And then maybe years later, after you leave the house, you're living on your own, and you're no longer in that environment where you're being made to feel bad, the cramps disappear.
Hmm.
So do menstrual cramps tend to be connected to our emotions that could be uh, feelings of being unloved and that kind of thing?
Right. So I'm happy that you said that because I did do a little research in the menses because that's what you're talking about. That's what it's
Yeah.
called, the menses, right? So remember, when the uterine area, when the wound is tension and it's dispersing, which means it's cleansing itself, is
Mm-hmm.
tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what causes the pain because
Mm-hmm.
there's tension in that area.
Right.
So it flows. And then the thing about this is when women have an overflow, which means an overflow of, well, I'm trying to, for the sake of everyone listening, when we flow heavy, for example,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it becomes very painful. The more we flow heavy is the painful it is. I don't know if
Mm.
people realize that, right? So if you're flowing
Right.
lightly, it's less pain
Right.
because you have less tension in the wound. But
Okay.
when you flow heavy, think about something flowing heavy that has something in it. It's squeezing,
Yeah.
right? And
Like
it's
squeezing a
draining.
wash rag full of water or something like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. So that's why we feel that tension behind which is causing us physical pain. And if we are not careful with that, again, here comes the fibroid tumors right there.
Mm.
because again the blood is flowing, but it's not. It again the cellular structure. It's the cells that are not producing because they're not getting proper blood flow. Not doing the menses time, but just overall. And that scar tissue again then turns into fibroid tumors. I also want to talk about the fibromyalgia because the doctors, physicians call it the trash can disease. They don't know what it is. They
Wow.
don't know what that's what it's called. It's like they really don't know what caused that. I personally believe it's from inner child trauma and stress. I
Mm.
think that because this is also one of those issues where the womb is stressed. The
Yeah.
womb can become stressed, women, wonderful ladies. The wound can become stressed. So when the wound is stressed, what then happens? What do you think? Think about your mind for a moment. I'm trying to ditch this sun. It just ain't moving. Think about your mind. When your mind is stressed out, what happens? What happens? The adrenaline is then
Yeah.
released,
Blood
right?
flowing.
And
Yes.
then you become what? You become sometimes if you're too
And
stressed, don't you lose energy? Think
yes. Yeah.
lose
Yeah.
energy. You
Yes.
become tired, irritable, sometimes angry, and you may even flow through different types of emotions that you may not even be aware of. Sometimes we go through, I call it the tidal wave emotions. All at one time, you get real, real high, then you come back down, then you get real high again, then you come back down, right? So, guess where you're
Yeah.
feeling that intensity from? Your womb.
Wow. Wow.
Your womb communicates. Think about it. This is a house that houses life now. It houses a breathing, when a woman can bear a child, she's bearing life, right? So this is a
Yeah.
home. This is a home for a child. This is a home
Ooh.
for a human being, a
Unfortunate.
soul, a home for a child for 9 months or whatever. You know, it's a home for a child. So why not? Why wouldn't it experience what you experience? Okay,
Mm.
there is also uteral interuteral damage, right, on a child, because we're going to go a little bit deeper with this. So the interuteral damage on the child is that whatever the mother is going through during childbearing years is what the child is going to feel. That's how I know. That was my evidence to say, I said, how could this be? How can our wombs carry all that pressure? And then I went a little deeper and I started looking at how interutero a child can be born and a child can be extremely emotional because
Mhm.
their mother
Yeah.
could be depressed. Their mother might have been going through some type of grief during some circumstance, could be loss of a loved one, a lost period, a domestic violence, or whatever she may be going through during those 9 months of caring. So when the baby is born, the baby is actually sometimes babies are born where they become very emotional. They become criers. We call them what is a colicky. You ever heard of that? Oh, the baby
Yeah.
has colic and the baby is crying and they don't know how to calm the baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I truly believe there was a transfer of energy from that mother to that baby
Under
while that baby
stress.
was in the womb.
Yes.
That's how I
That
know. That
that's
was
how.
my evidence. Yes,
Yes.
that was my evidence that we carry stress in the womb. That
Yes.
was my evidence right there. So those fibroid tumors, all of the things, ovarian cancer,
Mm-hmm.
it's so many different things concerning the womb, different types of chronic illnesses, and women are subject to certain things, right? And I don't want this to be all bad. I just want to let people know ahead of time.
Well,
Because
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said, because most of the time we don't know the fibroid is there until something happens like pain,
Yes.
excessive bleeding. You
Yes.
see what I'm saying? But it was always there. So the first thing we do, we go to the doctor, we get a ultrasound, and then we have to go under the knife at that point. I want to get proactive today and let the women know you don't have to do that. But go ahead and say it. I'm gonna say what I have to say. I don't
One
want
thing,
you to.
I'm gonna say, since you mentioned that, because I've had the fibroid surgery, um, and I wish I had known now what I didn't know then. I mean, I wish I'd known then what I know now is that you can dissolve the fibroids. Everything doesn't have to be done surgically, but
Right.
my doctors didn't know. I didn't have access to holistic healing information, or even the energetic uh, conditions that
Hmm.
created the fibroids. Because there were things, and I understand that now. But also, what I was going to say, you mentioned earlier in the show that this was going to focus a lot on women's issues, but in a real sense, I hope we can educate men so that they understand the
Hmm.
vital role they play in creating the energy that enters the womb of a woman. Because I've seen so many cases of women who were angry during childbirth because there was conflict with the father of the child. And then the child comes out, like you mentioned, colicky or just highly emotional, crying all the time. And then they grow up uh, being the kind
Hmm.
of
Same way.
that are distressed. So if we can understand the connection between the experience of the mother before, during, and after childbirth, and the kind of
Hmm.
children that are coming into our world, and the emotional state that they're in because of the mother's emotional state
Yes.
while she carried them, then the fathers can be more conscious of the way they manage their relationships and the way they treat the women that they're impregnating. So, the world that we're seeing is a manifestation of those emotions that happened during that act of intimacy. And if we can get everybody to see how they play a role, then we can be more conscious of how we're treating each other. And women can be more aware of even the people that they surround themselves with in an intimate relationship, because they are passing those emotions on to the child.
Absolutely. This is a question that our Monday host, oh, that Miss Zelda, all right, says some say menses monthly is not normal, but if the womb does self cleansing, how is this possible? I truly believe, just from my studies, I can only speak for what I know, that a lot of times, again, I believe that the wound is in some type of arrest, is under some type of pressure, known or unknown, and again, this causes the release of those uh, those cleansing, as one would say, because normally it's I mean the womb prepares itself for life and then
The child,
disperses. It prepares itself for life and disperses.
yeah.
Right.
You know,
But if there's nothing there, why would it prepare itself? That's what
right.
I'm saying.
Yeah. And I look at
Think about that.
other mammals. I mean, we're mammals. We know that there are different, ways that various life forms reproduce. We know, as far as the mammal family, there are things that the females do. All females in the mammal category do these same things. We come
Yes.
into the point of fertility, and our bodies prepare themselves, and then if we're not fertilized, if we're not, if we're not impregnated, then that preparation, it
It,
is emitted out of our bodies, so that's what that
yes.
whole thing is for. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of our healthcare and our medical science has been for too long male dominated, when women were in control of understanding the birth process. It was a much healthier process. But then if men are defining what happens inside women's bodies, they don't know. So this
Mm-mm.
a lot of things have to be corrected, because that period of time where we allowed childbirth to be male dominated, and we got away from the midwives and the women who studied childbirth and pre and post uh childbirthing, we got away from women being in charge of that. We saw a lot of insensitivity, a lot of things dismissive of our menstrual cramps, or making it be something shameful. There are a lot of religions that teach, a woman is dirty during that time, and in a way that makes it like it's and like a spiritual uncleanness. So I mean, imagine that state of mind if this is the kind of thought that you're raised with, and you're going through your normal monthly cycle where your body's cleansing itself because you were not impregnated, you're not carrying life, and then you're made to feel bad or dirty or ugly or nasty or all those negative energetic
Yeah.
emotions thrown at you during your blossoming womanhood. Of course you're going to probably end up the kind of young woman who has cramps and everything else because of all the negative energy that's associated with that period of time, instead of you
Mm-hmm.
being treated as if there needs to be care and compassion and concern because your body's going through a transition, a
Yes.
transformation, and you need to have ease and comfort so that contracting process isn't causing you pain. I mean,
Right.
herbal
Yeah.
teas and things like that women knew about that eased that situation so that it wasn't painful. A lot of that disappeared once women were no longer in charge of that process.
Absolutely. But the thing about this is, even though those things are occurring in the world and outside of ourselves, at some given point, emotional regulation is vital to a woman. You have to know how to emotionally regulate yourself.
Yeah.
You have to know how to do, and the thing about this is when you can control your emotions, you can control your life. You control your life for where you sit, how you respond, not just react to the world around you, but how you respond. And you keep your property lines up. So that's what I want to talk about, because we got to get into the areas of understanding what our emotions actually have an impact on our being as a whole. Like broken heart syndrome. It is such a thing when we go through stressors concerning, a broken heart can be with any given situation. It could be and having a failed relationship between family. It could be a failed relationship in any type of way, whether it's heterosexual or monogamous or whatever the case is. But that broken heart syndrome causes us to feel so much intensity, which is anxiety. Anxiety then feels it is in the heart center of the individual. Then you literally feel like you're having a heart attack, but you're not. So
Mm.
when you get to the hospital, they're running EKG and they find out that no, you're not having a heart attack. You're having a panic attack that resembles a heart attack. And so they literally treat it as such. They
Mhm.
treat it as what they would do is they don't treat it as a full blown what they call myocardiac syndrome. They treat it from the anxiety point. They give you medication to calm you down, because
Mm.
again, here comes those adrenalines and those cortisol have been released into the body, and then that and it goes direct in a woman, it goes directly to the womb, and then we start feeling that pressure in our whole being,
Wow.
mainly in our heart center, because the womb communicates. It communicates with the mind. It communicates also with the heart and the spirit. Because
Mhm.
remember, it houses life. It
Yeah.
communicates by hormones. It releases hormones from the time we go through our puberty, because when puberty is there, hormones are being released so that the woman can become a woman, a young lady can become a lady, and vice versa. So it's very important that we understand it. So we're going to take a break so I can get this sun out of my face. We're going to
All
take a
right.
break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a little more about fibromyalgia.
All right. We'll be right back.
Stay
So
tuned.
stay with us.
Hi, I'm Mama Joy. And I'm Reverend Rosemary. Join us every second Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. p.m. Central Time, here on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show for Neighborship of Joy. We'll have powerful conversations inviting women to walk in the light. So call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak to the host. You can also join us live on the Female Solution Facebook page and YouTube channel. See you on the second Saturday on the Neighborship of Joy.
Hi, this is John Alexander.
And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/TheMediaConnectionTV.
YouTube it. We'll see you soon.
There are people who choose to make a positive difference in the world. Our job is to bring you their stories to motivate you to do the same. Join us each week, host John Alexander and Naima Latif, as we bring you the educators, entertainers, elected officials, religious leaders, and community activists whose works are transforming this world. Find out how you can make a difference too. Be inspired. Watch The Media Connection. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 12 noon on cable TV channel 19 in Chicago and other cities. Check your local cable listing. Tune in to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Soulful Solution. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with our wonderful host, Naima Latif, our executive producer of The Female Solution. And if you're just joining us today, we're talking about the physical illnesses caused by damaged emotions, mainly in the female gender. Okay. Before we left off, I said I wanted to talk a little more about fibromyalgia, which is a metabolic, actually, chronic illness. It is where you will have a lot of pain in your body, you have low self energy, and you also will have depression. Depression is one of those symptoms as well, and it's treated, with medication and also some holistic therapy as well. If anyone out there has fibromyalgia, your best and your favorite friend will always become a heating pad. Heating pads, yes, heating pad, yeah. If you can find your couple of them and lay on them or put them on your body, what it does, it generates blood flow and that helps you with your nerve endings. So if you didn't know that, now you know, okay? Of course, it's different types of medications that the doctor would give you for those symptoms, but they usually, now fibromyalgia is one of those chronic illnesses that flare up when you are stressed. It's like lupus. Lupus is the same thing. Lupus is a blood immune deficiency. It's the same thing. It flares up when you're under stress. IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. It flares up when you're under stress.
Before you go further, explain a bit about lupus, because I've known a couple of people who had it, and I think that
Hmm.
organs would swell up. What exactly is lupus?
Lupus, from my understanding, is a immune deficiency.
Autoimmune
Right,
disease.
yeah, autoimmune deficiency where I it's I think it's where the organs, like you say, they do become exasperated due to
Mm,
fluid buildup,
mm,
which interrupts the blood flow, and that's what causes the immense pain. And that is it, depending on it's different types of lupus. You know, it's not just one type. It's different types of lupus. Some lupus even come with depression, or you know, a lot of anxiety, and then some lupus are where you literally swell up, like
mm.
your legs are swell, your hands are swell, because the edema, which is the fluid that is running with in the bloodstream, becomes exasperated. So your hands, your joints, anything around your feet, your legs, they will kind of build up, and you also start having like I call it like blood surges, and you may get like really red in the face or on
Oh,
splotches on the body. Yeah, that's when it's flared. It's flared
wow.
up, and most of the time, most people have to just stop what they're doing and lay down.
Mm.
They have to slow down because it really takes a lot of your energy. And I mean, uh, autoimmune systems are affected by our emotions. We go right back to that
Mhm.
because that's what it's affected. When the emotions are not released and they are suppressed, that's where else can the energy go but in our bodies?
Wow.
That's what happens. It goes in our bodies. So our goal is to again finalize and settle things that have not been settled. And the thing about it is, it takes intro, which is inside work, to do that. To really ask yourself, have I finalized everything in my life? You know, oh, some things I just want to forget. I don't want to talk about. I don't want no one else to talk about it with me. I just want to make pretend it's not there. Okay, that's not finalized.
So a lot of women have been taught to suppress emotions or not express anger.
Hmm.
Um, and so there's a lot of repression of resentments, anxiety, anger, fear. And if you've grown up in a family that kept giving you the signal that your emotions were not allowed to be expressed, then you either tried to pretend they weren't there, or you mask them with, pretending to have a smile. But I've observed that a lot of women later in life, or maybe midlife, 30s, 40s, 50s, start having a lot of internal breakdowns. A lot of them in the womb area, whether it's fibroids or
Hmm.
cervical cancer or breast cancer. A lot of the organs that are connected with life and reproduction, it's like our bodies are communicating to us that there is pain that we have repressed, and now it's expressing itself in our bodies through the breakdown of our cells. Is that a lot of what happens because we're repressing emotions rather than just, say what we feel, or address that person that may have violated us in some way, and we weren't allowed to talk about it? So is that what's happening? Because culturally, in a lot of places, women aren't allowed to express anger, or they're
Right.
they're called bad names if they express anger, and ridiculed, so they learn to mask it, but it manifests in their bodies sicknesses. Is that what's happening in a lot of cases?
Yes, ma'am, it is. And what happens is, it's not the primary emotion. Primary emotion is what's happening right there in that moment. For example, let's say you're going through a divorce and you're going through emotions during that time of the divorce, right? So you kind of work your way through it, as best that you can. You may or may not say everything that's on your mind, because maybe not having the opportunity to do it or whatever the case may be. But let's say something triggers you again, right? It
Mhm.
can trigger you. And triggering, just what it is, it reminds you of the feeling that you had during that time. Okay, so what then the brain does is it goes back in time. The brain is like a Rolodex. It's like
Mhm.
a Rolodex. It holds all of our memory. The brain holds the memory and the heart holds the issues.
Mm.
Okay. So when the memory comes back, it triggers us, and all the emotions that are from that actual event becomes evident. We start feeling those things all over again. So the body is under fire again. So
Mm.
every time we get triggered, it keeps happening. It keeps happening until
Mm.
the point where we're releasing these again. We're releasing unbeknownst, involuntarily, whether we realize or not. We're releasing those hormones over and over and over again, and those hormones are turning into toxic chemicals. Um, so it's just a real thing to do is to be proactive. Proactive is like, okay, I know when I'm emotional, it takes all of my energy. Most people don't realize how much energy that goes into just feeling. They don't, because they're so busy feeling. So we have this part of our brain, Naima, which is the right hemisphere that holds all the suppressed emotions. And we call it the inner child mind. Okay. The right hemisphere. The left hemisphere is the one that's the adult mind. That's where your logic and your reason, concerning your issues. So the question is, do we live in that right hemisphere? Most people do, because we become people of emotions, not people of logic. So we feel our way through life, all the time. We don't think our way through it. We feel our way through it. So the goal is to get those two areas balanced. You're feeling and you're thinking, but you're doing not too much of each other, right? So what happens is, when you are going through any type of hardship, regardless of what it is, you will have the understanding to, like, okay, I've been through this before, or this is something new that's overbearing to me. I know if I stay in this state, then I'm going to be very uncomfortable for long periods of time.
Mhm.
You have to know how to turn off and back away from damaged emotions like guilt, shame, regret, despair, anger, all of these things that lead to us feeling what they call inhabited, such as low self-esteem, feeling not good enough, feeling like you're a failure, feeling that no one loves you. Okay, that we go right back into the victim state. And these are just the things that create emotions, right? So they create these emotions, and if we live again in our feeling mind, that means we get hypersensitive to everything that, I mean, if someone looks at us too hard, why are you looking at me? And something wrong with me, you get upset. Or you may
Mm.
think, oh, they're looking at me and I'm this and I'm that. Whatever the brain is creating from the past
Mm.
is not creating it from the present or the future, because that has not yet come. It's the past that it goes back to. It might have been
Mm.
somebody stares at you. You might remember, the brain remembers you going through a situation when you were a little kid and people used to stare and tease you when you were a child. So the
Mm.
brain goes back to that area and reminds you, right? Not of so much of that thought, but the feeling.
Feeling. So the
Okay.
feeling is carried in your heart. Is that correct? I mean,
Yes,
the
the
memory's in your
feeling,
mind, but the emotion, the feeling that you had from that
the
your
issues of the emotions, the issues that create the emotions are carried in the heart.
mm, mm,
But the emotional, what do you call regulation is in the, they call it amygdala. That's in the amygdala part of your brain.
mm,
So if they're suppressed, okay, if you're suppressing emotion, Those are not expressed emotions, right? Where we might have not had the opportunity as children or even as adults that we always, some people are passive aggressive, right? So when you're passive aggressive, you don't express emotions.
Mm.
You get upset, but you hold it in. You get
Yeah.
upset, but you hold it in. You see what I'm saying? So you get a habit of doing that, and
Yeah.
it becomes an addiction to suppressing emotions. Where does that energy go? It doesn't. It
Mm.
doesn't go. It doesn't go poof, because remember, words are expressed emotions. I feel angry. Okay, I feel like you hurt me. So let's just say you don't say that. You don't say it, but you feel it anyway. But you
Mhm.
don't say it. So
Right.
words have power, right?
Right.
Those words that have not been said, that has not been expressed, lay dormant in the being.
Mm. They're still there, even though they didn't come out. They're
They're
still.
unsettled. They're
Yeah.
unsettled. Like for if you had a mother or father, or somebody who might have said something to you, and you never said something that really hurt your feelings, but you never told them that they hurt your feelings. So those are suppressed emotions, right? And so as time goes on, somebody else may say something similar to that,
Mm.
and somebody else may say something similar. So you keep getting triggered. Anything similar to it, you just keep getting triggered, because though that energy is inside of you, and you are attracting that energy because
Mm.
you have not said it,
Wow.
right? So how do we deal with that? How do we work through that? Of course, therapy is one of those greatest things, right? So that you can open up and say, yes, I was hurt at this time, and this is what I felt, and I wish and be upfront and personal with yourself, and your inner child, or whatever that was hurt, whatever the case may be. And if you have a therapist that is not surface, that will help you go in deep in those areas and open up that heart, because that part is when the heart is closed.
Mm.
So the heart has to be open. You know what I'm saying? And what I want to really explain this when I say closed and open hearts.
Mhm.
When we are disappointed and when we get hurt, our heart closes.
Wow.
It gets tension, just like it sends that message to the wound, and the wound then tenses up,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
So, and then when we have joy, when we have peace, the heart opens.
Wow.
It opens, because it's inviting the joy. It's inviting, but when it feels the damage, it closes itself off, because it doesn't want to be hurt anymore,
Mm.
right? It doesn't want to experience the pain. So when the heart is open, this is the opportunity for us to express ourselves. We call that self-expression. I am expressing from the deepest parts of my being that this is what I feel today, and this is what I desire. And so now those choices that was never made before, those words that's never been said before, becomes evident. And now you are what they call, self-presence, but you are ready to reparent yourself, give you
Wow.
what you need. That's called conscious reparenting. You're ready to reparent yourself, but you have to have an open heart to do so. Because if your heart is closed, then you're not going to be emotionally available for yourself to relive those areas that you've been avoiding. You have to relive them so you can feel them again. Otherwise, you're just going to press them down, and they're going to remain dormant inside of you,
Wow. I
which
have a
then
question.
produces, of course, the toxic energy. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I was totally blown
It is.
away when I studied that.
I have a question, and I want to, remind those if you're on our switchboard now, if you got a question or comment for Dr. Debbie Green, press one so we can open your mic and get your thoughts. And if you're listening online and you want to join this conversation, give us a call 515-605-9325 and press one so we can open your mic and get your thoughts. And then if you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube on Soulful Solutions, with Dr. Debbie Green. We want you to write in your comments. We can share them with our listening and viewing audience. The question that I have, there are a lot of families where parents uh, are not emotionally able to express emotions like love to the child. Maybe they've never expressed a positive emotion such as love verbally. And so the child learns that this is not acceptable or does not learn how to express those kinds of emotions. And the only state of being that they experience in their household is either silence or criticism, but never the positive energy of love. I love you. You're wonderful. You did a great job. Either you're ignored or you're criticized. A lot of households like
Mhm.
that. A lot of parents, that's the way they learn parenting because that's how they were parented. What is the
Yes.
what tends to be the state of the heart if you're always in a state of uh, anxiety or anticipating the negative, and you never have that heart opening experience of loving verbal expression from those who have raised you, from those who are providing the environment that you grow up in? What happens over time to the heart of a person like that?
Well, what happens over time when there's a lot of heart damage? Again, suppression of these things. One of those things is what. Well, let's talk about the mental part of that. So dealing with the mind, you have confusion. You could possibly have a lot of anxiety. You can have nightmares, uh, disorientation. Mood swings. You can also have even visual impairment over a period of time. Um, that's more so in the mind. You can also express, have the depression and anxiety as well on an intense level. As far as the emotions are concerned, you can feel guilt, you can feel shame, you can feel regret, you can feel anger. You can feel abandoned, all of those in there. So when all of those issues come together, then as you grow up, this is how you're going to feel if you don't get the proper mental care. You have to go through mental, like some type of a good psychotherapy that's going to help you balance off again. Just, not look at or not relive, as I should say, relive the past because it's very easy to relive the past. That's what causes the triggering when we relive the past. And again, here comes the hormones affecting the autoimmune system, causing sickness.
Mm, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about this is, Naima, we don't know what the sickness. We don't know what the damage is until we discover it. Because again, if some people are somatic, which is like every small thing becomes a big thing for them. If they find a lump, if they find a bump, if they get a pain, they just rush to the doctor, you know, and instead of like, okay, well, maybe I'm just stressing. Because right here, like when on our tripods in our head, our pressure, if it's a heart issue, even the throat, we can feel choking sensations,
Mm,
pressure underneath the eyes, what I'm saying? You can have migraines, all of those things, stomach aches. I've seen patients that have extremely painful pain in the stomach area, in the upper stomach area, thinking it is a GI problem, but it's not. It's psychological. The body just resembles the consciousness. That's what it does. It
mm,
resembles the conscious and the subconscious. So where does it start? It starts with your mental factors. Like, all right, how do I think about myself? Am I taking care of me? Am I emotionally available for me? Because I know what I've been through. I might have been through the roughest tides of life and I'm still here. I'm still surviving. But most of all, The question is, am I existing or am I just living? Because there's a difference between that. When you're living, you are proactive with your life. You don't allow the negative to become the reality. You move away from a lot of, mentally you move away, emotionally you move away from a lot of things that that is harmful for you. You don't self-harm in any type of way, not just looking at suicide, but self-harm is being in toxic relationships,
Mhm.
and staying in toxic relationships that that's not healthy for you, but you stay in them, and it doesn't matter where it's coming from. It could be coming from your family, it could be coming from your significant other or whatever, but is it healthy for you? That's the question. If you find yourself feeling broken, constantly being impacted, triggered and triggered and triggered, okay, something inside of you is saying something outside of you is causing this issue, right? So either one or two things, you either have to disperse, detach, or you have to change the way you look at it. So your
Mhm.
perception has to change in order to deal with it. Because sometimes, look, we can't pick our family members, you know, and some of our family members can be very challenging. So you say you can't get rid of them. No, you don't get rid of them, but you have to know how much to allow them inward. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I guess what
Yeah.
happens, especially if you have a conflict with a family member and you know that you're going to encounter them at a family gathering, that could be a source of anxiety. Especially, it's you're coming to someone else's house, someone another relative's house, so you don't control who comes. You just know that you got to face this other person in the family who may have hurt you in some way, psychologically or even physically, and you have to, every time you see them, maybe you relive that emotional experience, so that could cause a lot of anxiety. I know there are a
Hmm.
lot of families where maybe there's an abuser and no one talks about it, and you have to face them at every family gathering, and it could be traumatizing. How does a person address that? Do you just confront that person even if they deny it happened? Because, and I know we've had a guest on that wrote a book about, she was abused and she confronted the people, and of course they denied it and act like, "Oh, you're crazy, that never happened," but at least she talked about it. um
Right.
how do you deal with that when you've been maybe carrying the hurt, the anger, the stress of someone in the family that you're seeing periodically, Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July, whatever the family gets together, and that issue was never addressed? Is it better for you emotionally to just confront them and tell them how they made you feel and let it go, or at least uh, let them know, even if they deny it? And what are the emotional consequences of if they deny it?
Well, I mean, I always say you have what they call an intellectual directional stance, which is that you can tell somebody anything in a certain way, say without screaming and yelling or getting upset.
Hmm.
It's not what you say, is how you say it. As long as you say it, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Without doing damage to yourself or to another human being. So you have to be. I call it assertiveness in love, even
Mhm.
though that person might have hurt you or um, they might have disrespect you or whatever the case may be. But your power is your power, so you have to
Mhm.
take your power back and get those things settled in yourself. So, one of the greatest ways to do that is to, not be the victim with your words, because it's easy to say, you did this to me, you did that to me, and you hurt me. That's the victimized part. Okay, we know that to be true, but at the same token, you don't want to come to them with the victim state.
Mm.
The victim
Exactly.
state is not going to help the situation. You
Mm.
literally have to just like, if you when you do get the open door to speak, and I say the open door because sometimes it's not the right times, right?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But when the open door can speak, oh hello, I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah. Do you have a moment? Can we talk for a second? You know, I was just thinking about some things, and I just wanted to share something with you. Do you remember when? And we
Mm.
talk about that incident. You remember when you said so and so did so and so? I just want to let you know I forgive you. I want to
Mm.
let you know that I'm finalizing that today as I look at you. And I know I haven't seen you in a while and we haven't talked and a lot of things has happened since then, but I forgive you because I'm no longer a victim of that circumstance. I
Mm.
moved on in my heart, my spirit, and my soul, and I'm releasing you today, and I hope you release me as well. And I
Mm.
just want to let you know that regardless of what has happened, it didn't damage me to the point where I didn't survive it. And I
Ooh.
want to thank you for helping me to know how strong I am.
Ooh. Wow. That's a good one. That's a good
When that is said, and I know you say, well, those have to say those in that particular way, but sometimes if you say it real calmly, and that person already knows the damage that they did, but
one.
right then and there, all of whatever it is that was held inside of you, not the other person, but held inside of you, is finalized.
Mm.
That emotions, those words, whatever hurt, whatever violation, abuse, whatever, you then took your power back from that thing and you put it back in your heart center. Because
I
your
did.
heart has to be open to speak that way. Because if it's closed, you're going to come with anger, disgust. You're going to still
Yeah.
feel like you're the victim.
Yeah.
But if you open up your heart and you get back to where you're supposed to be as God created you to be the force to be reckoned with. You see what I'm saying? He said, lean not to your own understanding. Because, see, our own understanding to deal with something when we get angry is to disperse anger,
Right. Right. We're the
is to
victim. You did this
disperse
to me.
anger.
How dare you?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, that's the victim mindset.
Yeah.
But think about it. Think about it. You are a victim. You ain't even got over it yet. You
Mm.
still the victim. So if you don't come to them in the victim mindset, you taking all the power from them, and guess what? That is a deal. That's a signed deal. All of that energy that was inside your being, you just took a big breath of it and you just let it rip out there, and then it just disappeared. They
Yeah.
can't hurt you anymore. They can't hurt you. Not even when they're around, not even when they're gone. They can't hurt you anymore
Mm.
because you have taken your power back. You know, one thing about, like I said, women, we are such a force to be reckoned with. And we have been through so much because we are childbearers. Remember, we give life, right? We
Yes.
house life, you know, we give life, we house life. But when we have to remember what is the most important thing is ourself, our heart center.
Yeah.
Because we can satisfy and work for everyone else and do everything. But if we don't take care of this heart center right here, this
Mm.
heart center has to remain open. And if it ever gets closed, guess what? It's going to send a message down to that wound. And that wound's
Oh,
going to get closed too. Our
wow.
beings it communicates.
Yeah. This
Mind,
is a
body, and
communication
soul
device.
communicates. I can
Yeah.
think about it. How can I experience something and my wound don't experience, or my mind don't experience, or my heart? You can't separate your being.
Right.
It's
Right.
impossible.
Our bodies communicate with us. That's what they do, and that every sensation is communicating something. But we
Yes,
got to take a
ma'am.
break.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So we've got to take a break. And again, if you're on our switchboard and got a thought you want to share or a question you want to ask, press one. We can open your mic and get your thoughts for Dr. Debbie Green. And if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you've got a comment, write it down and we'll share it with our listening and viewing audience. And if you are listening online on Blog Talk Radio, www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, and you want to make a comment or join this conversation, call in 515-605-9325. And again, press one. That lights your number up on the switchboard among all those numbers we see on the switchboard so we can open your mic and get your thoughts. And we will be right back after this quick break. So we want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. More with Dr. Debbie Green, Soulful Solutions. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Everything you need, your body needs, is found in nature. So Susan Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Susan Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000 nutritional products, and they are shipped direct to your door. Because Susan Essentials is certified in plant-based healing, we're permitted to offer you the best nutritional supplements on the planet. They're non-GMO and sustainably produced, and we take the guesswork out for you. Let Susan Essentials help you take control of your health today. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
All right, welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. For those who just joining us, with my wonderful co-host Naomi Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. And again, our topic of the day is the physical illnesses caused by damaged emotions. I want to go into something talking about the damage. How do you know when you're suffering emotionally? A lot of times, again, we may not know due to the fact of because we're so involved into what we hear and what we see. Our senses, we go into what they call senses overload. Okay, it's over mental stimulation by the situation, whatever it is, circumstance. So, and we become the stimulus. The stimulus is the thing that's happening in our life at that particular moment, and we become that very thing. We start feeling the pressure, we start feeling the shock of it all, the disbelief. We go through all types of emotions. Our emotions then start causing us to become agitated, withdrawn, isolated, stop communicating, even our self-care, our personal hygiene are fall in certain areas as well. So this is when what is called an emotional rupture, right? So we get to that. This is way before psychosis even begins. Psychosis is the interruptions of ADL, activities of daily living. No, we have the emotional rupture first. The emotional rupture is like, okay, I am so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do stage. You know, I can't work. I don't seem like I can concentrate. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want anyone to talk to me. I just want to lay down. I want to close my eyes. I want to pull the covers over my head and lay there for periods of time and just feel. You're totally in your feeling center. You're not looking at anything rational. You're not looking at anything logical, and you're not being reasonable. Now, yes, one can stay there for a few days, but if it's 2 weeks or more, no, we're going into a diagnosis. Diagnosis is can be anywhere between mild, moderate, or severe depression, recurrent if necessary for recycling. Now, again, we're still dealing with emotions, right? So the heart is closed during that time because we're not looking for anything. We're not searching for nothing. We just feeling. You cannot find a solution nor an answer if you are in your feeling center of your brain. It's not going to happen. What
Mm.
happens? You start deteriorating
Oh, wow.
because you can't breathe. That means you're underwater, right? You think you're breathing, but you're not. Your heart is closed. It's pumping blood in your screen, real, I mean, it's struggling, but it's
Mm.
closed. It's tension. You have tension from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. What should one do at that point? Breathe intentionally. Deep breaths all the way through the nose, hold it, blow it out slowly through the mouth. And you need to breathe as long as necessary until you start feeling your body release. Now, I'm not saying your situation is going to disappear, but you have to breathe. It's just like you're drowning. You go all the way to the bottom, what you're going to do? You're not going to die. You're going to find your way back to the top so
Mm.
you can get some air. It's the same process. What
Wow.
is that going to do for you? It's going to calm down everything. The chemicals in your brain will get extra, the brain will get extra oxygen. It slows down the drip of adrenaline and cortisol that's rushing through your blood, your veins, and it sends a message to your heart. It's okay to relax. So the anxiety that you might have feeling that chest pains, a lot of people feel choking sensation, heaviness in the chest. Because when the heart is closed, that's why you're feeling heaviness.
Mhm.
So when the heart opens, all of that will just go away. But you gotta breathe, right? And also when you breathe, you also the heart is going to send a message to the wound, being if you're a woman, to release the tension.
Mm.
And if you notice within 15 minutes of deep breathing, your body will relax enough so your brain can say, what's next?
Mm.
What do we do
Yeah,
with this situation?
right. And now for
But
those
if
who
you
watch
don't breathe,
every
you
day,
can't do it.
you
Huh?
know, what you just said about this 15 minutes of breathing, for those who watch us every day, on Mondays with our Monday morning mindfulness, Zelda gives us through this 15-minute breathing exercise. Now you understand biochemical.
Yes.
That's important, especially if you've got that suppressed emotion, anxiety from whatever may have happened the weekend before or the week before at work or whatever. But we hold a lot of emotions, and then what's his name? I think Prince Ia, who's a spoken word artist. He did this video on why Monday morning is the highest day of heart attacks. So
Mhm.
you think about the anxiety that you face the day with the beginning of the work week, and whoever is causing you stress on the job, and you wake up with that stress and those repressed emotions in your heart, and then you end up having a heart attack. And Monday is the day of the
Yeah.
highest numbers of heart attacks. So what
Mhm.
we do here on Mondays with that breathing, that could be saving your life. And
Absolutely.
you think about, if you are existing in a work situation where every week you got to face people who stress you out, who make you feel like your livelihood is threatened because you might be fired, or they're doing things that make you feel like you're not being adequately supported or recognized, and you face that emotion every Monday, you got to breathe.
Hmm. Absolutely. I also want to give you some warning signs of emotional distress. That if anyone is going through that, just know that this is definitely a time for you to do some self care. Dizziness, shortness of breath, feeling anxious and tired and depressed, for a duration of time. Shoulder, neck, back issues, heart racing, where your heart is feeling heavy, but you're having tachycardia, headaches. Headaches can be on the frontal lobe, also towards the back of the neck, which is a occipital area of your brain. But some people even have it on the top, right here in the crown. Some people have pressure here. Some people have pressure here, on the side of the temples. Okay, all of this is from emotions. Please understand, this is not, you don't have just a diagnosis of migraines. Migraines develop because of suppressed emotions.
I got a question about that. Does the spot on your head where you're hurting, is that connected to a specific emotional state? Because I tend to get them like on the crown of my head, like the top. Some people get it the back of their head. Some people get
Right.
it sides. So does is the pain area related to the type of emotion that's creating the distress?
The top of the head, the crown is more so for a heart issue, right? Anything dealing in the head is a heart issue. If you have tension around here, you know what I'm saying? Because the body kind of holds, like from the upper body on up, is the heart issue. The
Mm,
lower part, like the lower above the belly button, all the way down to the root, which we got the root chakra underneath the belly button. Okay, that's the wound. The wound is under stress,
mm,
major stress. But up above is the heart issue, right? So again, remember I said if the heart gate is closed, for any reason, and it could be again from a past hurt, or something that may be going on in the present moment. If that wound, if that heart is closed, it's going to send tension to the rest of the body. Think about it, because this is a muscle, right? So it pumps blood all through the body, but most of all, it literally, you know what I'm saying, it causes tension. It Because this is just blocked energy. Emotions are energy in motion. And so we have this block energy that's not like flowing. Like some people who have feet issue, their feet just ache. All
mm.
right. Guess what? It's a root issue down in the womb.
Wow. Wow.
Lower extremities around the knees, around the pelvic area, wound issue.
Mm.
Wound issue.
So if
That's
it's
where
a
they carry
wound,
the stress.
so again, that's maybe created to, I get, or connected to, love and life issues, when it's a womb issue, uh, that creates, the pain in all the other areas. Is that what's happening?
Right. Well, the suppressed emotions are more so carried more so in the wound than in the heart. Because remember, they kind of communicate, right? So the wound can carry more pressure because it's a house. It can carry massive amounts of pressure that the heart
Mm,
can't carry. Okay, let me explain like this. When we encounter something through our senses, we hear it, we see it, we touch it, we taste it, whatever it is coming through our senses. We are impacted by people's behavior. We are impacted also by their actions. We are impacted also by our life choices and our life decisions, right? So we're just impacted. right? From the time we were born up until we leave this, we're always impacted. So every impaction causes some type of stress, mild, moderate, or severe. When it becomes a severe stressor then affects us more so than any mild or moderate. So again, we hold it. People hold on to damaged emotions. They don't like to let go of them. For some, I've learned to let go of damaged emotions, but I'm teaching others to finalize things in yourself so that you can move on. Because otherwise, that energy turns into other energy. The heart has to communicate with the brain. When the heart does not communicate with the brain, and then all of this tension is from the top of the head to the heart, then guess what? It's going to communicate in the woman to the womb. That's just the way it is because that's another muscle. Okay, it's
Mhm.
another muscle, but most of all, it is another organ that houses life. Your heart houses life. Your brain houses life. Think about it. Think about it. Without those components, you can't. I mean, if your brain dead, you can't operate even if your heart is beating. If your
Mm.
heart is no longer beating, even if your brain is operable, you can do artificial air. But when that heart stops, everything stops. The only thing that you can do without is the womb. That's why some women will have what they call, a complete hysterectomy. Okay, so guess what happens when that wound is removed?
Yeah.
It was not designed to be removed. It was supposed to stay intact. But some people have uterine cancer, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So they will go and remove that wound, right? So all of the hormones that the womb was sending to the heart for release and to the mind does not happen anymore. So
Oh.
what happens when the heart is suppressing that energy?
Mm.
It goes directly in the heart. Now the heart is working overtime because it don't have no other place to store it.
Okay. I got a question. Well, I'll hold my question till
Isn't that deep?
it is. I want to
Amazing,
ask
right?
something about.
Amazing.
Well, we got a caller
Uh,
at 773-450. You can hold just one second. I want to get this question out before I forget it. Um, I know women who've had radical hysterectomies. They've had the womb removed, and they're in chronic illness all the time. And probably emotional distress that's not being released. What do you do if you've had that major organ removed, and even the absence of it is maybe connected to your feelings about motherhood, your feelings about nurturing or being nurtured? How and your body is, after that organ has been removed, your body's just breaking down in all different places. Is there a way to repair the emotional damage that comes from not having that womb, that is able to then release the emotions to the heart and all of those things? What else can a person do once that organ is gone?
one of the greatest things about that is they would have to do what they call subconscious meditation. Subconscious meditation and with affirmation. So you have to affirmate and meditate. You can meditate laying down, you can meditate standing up, you can whatever stance or prone position you choose. But you do deep breathing, and when you breathe out, you speak out what you are releasing. Like for example, if I'm speaking out that I have, low self-esteem or I feel something of that nature, and then I will release. I breathe out hurt and pain. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I breathe out failure.
Mm.
I breathe out low self-esteem. I breathe in life. I breathe out hurt and pain. You see what I'm saying? And let the words, as you're breathing, you're affirmating and declaring and you're breathing out. And you're going to get to a point where you will then start resting in it and your being, because you're hearing it through your auto. So your
Mm.
subconscious is being awakened by
Wow.
that. It's being awakened by those words, and you're giving breath, which is giving the breath, then gives energy to the situations and the issues.
Wow.
Because that's what breathing is for, is to relax, but also to give energy to.
Negative energy. Yes. Well, before we take a break, let me take this call 773-450. Your mic is open. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your question or comment for Dr. Debbie Green.
Good morning, Grand Rising, College, and grade to all.
Yes.
So, Obadiah,
Yes.
you know,
Greetings, Obadiah.
everything you're saying is so true because people let emotions rule them. So emotions can be negative because an emotion is a feeling you have. You should have a consciousness that goes above your feelings. I think so many people end up locked up in jail. They get mad in a situation instead of taking fire, being still, breathing, and getting it out. They run off and go get a gun to settle the score. And before they can think about it, they done done something. Now they in jail for 20 years. They got lots of time to think about what they did after they get in there. But before you get to that, my question is, so we have to balance our consciousness. We're creatures. Who are we auditioning for? I thought creatures audition for the creator. We are auditioning for other creatures and for people that can't help you breathe. That's a mistake. Why are we auditioning for each other? I can't give you life. Audition for the creator, and then you got a different standing of mind. Also, your mind is the master. We are the co-creators in our own life. Maybe people don't realize that. They always, I'm praying. Praying don't do you no good if you're not doing nothing. God can't help you if you don't start the ball to roll. It's always on you. So when you get emotional, you're all full of tension. When you breathe, you should exhale first. People always want to inhale. No, exhale all that stuff that's in you that's the problem. Get rid of it. Then when you inhale back, now you got some fresh air and fresh start and a fresh mind on it. We need to take one time being still and plan in life. Always say I got an A through Z plan because you need at least 26 plans, even just on a simple activity. You can't do one thing. This is the answer. And you only have one solution when you get up there and you have to say that what you're going to do. You didn't even come up with anything else. The majority of us never plan, but we're going to fail. And even if you fail, there's nothing wrong with that because failure means you can go back to the drawing board, tweak it, and get it right. That's another. Why do people think failure is such a big deal, man? It's good to fail because then you can go back to the drawing board and get it right. Now you got success. Failure is good, but I think the majority of us, when society throws all this stuff at us, we're just stressed out over everything. Stressed out over our job, we're stressed out over life, we're stressed out over relationships. You ought to cut the stress. It ain't necessary. Take your time and watch your life unfold before you. But you should be in the right place, and you got a choice in it. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit on the sidelines and complain about politicians that we were not even included in the Constitution? That's a little way. Black people are not even included in the Constitution. We're not supposed to follow any of those rules.
Well, Obadiah.
We would have no problem at all. That's when I come on this radio, I got that $100 bill in my hand. All I'm asking all of y'all to do is just put in on it. This is side money. Ain't got anything to do with your savings accounts or checking accounts or life and all that. This is side. If we all put side money together, we all get it. Just don't get it. The TV coming bye.
I hope you'll listen one day.
Hold that thought, Obadiah, and hold that $100 bill, because we're gonna find some ways for you to put it to use. We got to take a break. We thank you for your comments. He said a couple of things that I'd like to ask about. We got to take a break, but we're going to come back. There's something you said about prayer that I want to address, because a lot of people pray with the thought that God is mad at them, or they're unworthy, or they're a sinner and bound for hell, and they begging God to forgive them as if they're unworthy. So I think even the energy with which you approach your communion with the divine, if it's not one that's life affirming, and worth affirming of yourself, I think it can actually project more negative energy. Well, I will talk about that when we come back. We got another caller. Also, thank you so much, Obadiah. We appreciate you. And hold that $100 bill because we got something for it. It won't go to waste. We'll be right back after this quick break. So we want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. If you're on our switchboard now, got a thought you want to share or a question to ask Dr. Debbie Green, just press 1. That will light your number up and hold the hand up so we know you have something to say. And we will be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Do you worry about finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down-to-earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul. Whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to zeldaspeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's zeldaspeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit zeldaspeaks.com.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solution Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak.
Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on the Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Person Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of unity, enlightenment, and love vibration. Shalom.
All right, welcome back. We're at the top of our hour. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green, my wonderful co-host, our Naima Latif, the executive producer of the Female Solution. And again, if you just joined us, we're talking about physical illnesses caused by damaged emotions. So if we control those emotions, there's a good chance that we can save our immune system a whole lot of trouble.
So we've got a caller at 773-984. Opening your mic, and anybody else who's on our switchboard now, press 1 if you have a thought you'd like to share. We want to give you a chance to speak before we've got to go. And if you're listening online, of course, call in 515-605-9325 and press 1. All righty, 773-984. Your mic is open. Go right ahead with your question or comment.
This is Rashida. I just had a brief comment on the emotions because I had been very emotional because of death, killing, and fear of injury, traumaphobic. So I learned to control myself, and then I also learned that some emotions are positive. Just think of happiness and joy, interest, excitement, gratitude, and love. These are positive emotions, and you feel good. And then there's negative emotions like sadness, anger, loneliness, jealousy, self-criticism, fear, or rejection. It can be difficult, even painful. So I think that we need to have more intelligent people to address the issue, especially in the broader community, because emotions. For example, I was dealing with the fear of injury because my grandson was killed and they never got or got the murderer. So with me experiencing, the pain of injury and the fear of it, I had discovered myself that I was traumaphobic. But that's not a bad emotion. That's not a negative emotion so much as compared to the emotion of fear. Because if you think, you love this emotion, it's when you don't want to feel. You not as you die or something like that. So that was what I had to deal with myself and so on. But I did learn emotions, and I have done research on my own emotions to find out why I had those feelings. But if we had more people that have concerns like you all do right now addressing the issue, then we could probably deal with some of the anger that's inside our communities and our schools. My grandson's mother, she's so emotional about it. She has fixed in her mind that the person who killed her son was killed. But if he was killed, that's still a no-no. Justice should be brought other than you all come together with a group of people to inflict the same type of injury on their family emotions because of that unsolved of the homicide. So that emotion, sort of triggered some other things and his other siblings because of his killing. So they team up together and get somebody else to kill who they think killed him. But what about that person's family?
It
so
doesn't
those
end.
emotions of anger should be dealt with, I think. But emotions are not bad. Sometimes emotion is good. Emotions can be happy, to be a sort of happiness in emotions, as well as interest and excitement in emotion. Not always negative. There's other labels for negative emotions, but emotion in totality, I think, is not bad.
Yeah. Well, Rashida, you pointed out a thing that is unfortunately common, and that is people stuck in fear after they've gone through a trauma of violence, either of themselves or a loved one. And then also the emotions of vengeance, feeling like if I hurt the person who hurt me or hurt my loved one, then I'll feel better. But you don't feel better. And usually it leads to something worse. But there's a grief that happens when someone passes away. And one of the things that I try to do, and I'm sure Dr. Debbie, you do this with your uh, other program that you're doing as well, is
Mm-hmm.
address the the spiritual understanding of life so that we are not holding on to grief when someone transitions. And one of the things I try to do with my 555 series that I did for a couple of years was point to people uh, who were teaching some realities that we don't always comprehend, even through our religions, and really understanding that we are eternal beings and no one can kill you. You are ever existing. This time in a physical body is temporary. And even though we're not aware, because we come here and we go through a veil of forgetfulness so that we can have this experience, no one dies before their time and no one dies by accident. And every death is a choice, because if you're not ready to leave, you do have the choice to come back. And I've been sharing many of the near death experiences of people who've experienced that. They've experienced life on the other side. It used to be said, well, nobody's ever died and come back to tell people. Well, now there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people around the world who have experienced it and are sharing it so that we can let go of anger when someone transitions, because we can understand that that soul chose to leave. Many souls chose to leave during the COVID crisis. It wasn't that, oh my God, this is horrible. No, they made a decision that this was a good exit time for them. So when we're really in that deep of trauma of death, we got to take our understanding to a higher level, because understanding on this level is not going to heal us. We have to understand life at a higher level, where we understand existence and we understand eternal existence and we understand souls making choices, when to incarnate and when to exit, and even how to exit in such a way that even teaches people who are still having this earth experience something that will help them. And so this is why it's necessary for us to get different information that will help us see the passing of a person differently than, oh, someone took my loved one, they hurt me, and I'm sad, and I'm vengeful, and it's wrong, and I'm fearing I'm going to be hurt. That's a signal. It's necessary for us to take our understanding of life to a higher level. Otherwise, we'll be stuck there in that grief, and we won't understand that life is eternal, and your grandson is not dead, but merely transitioned to another life experience by his choice. And that's a deep understanding. But until you get to that level, you'll be stuck at this stage of grief and fear, and you don't want to be stuck there.
Yeah, I would like to say something really quick to let me share some wonderful advice for you. I don't know if you've ever seen The Shack. It's a movie, but it's also a book. It's an old book, but it was made into a motion theater movie. It's called The Shack, SHACK. And The Shack is based upon when this man lost his uh, child to a perpetrator that killed his child, and he had to go back to where he got stuck at in his emotions, and to get the and it is a spiritual overflow with this movie. So I would suggest that you look at that movie. It's going to really ring clear to you, and have your loved ones look at that movie, because the thing about this is it's easy to hold on to a past event. Anytime we're dealing with any sudden death, because that's a sudden death, right? It's not a terminal illness, so you don't have time to prepare. So when you're dealing with sudden death, there's several things that take place real quickly. The primary is when it first happens. All of the answers, you got anger, you have all of the discontentment, emotional overflow, grief, despair, all in one shebang. You see what I'm saying? Because you're like, why? That question never gets answered. It's just like suicide. It never gets answered. Why did someone take my child's life? Or why did they take their own life? So the why never gets answered. Let's just get that out of the way. So here comes the brain and the heart and the spirit and soul trying to figure out what to do with this situation. Now, for the quick fix on this, because there's not a quick fix on it, I'm talking about a quick fix as far as looking at it from a rational point of view. You see what I'm saying? You have to ask yourself, how long shall I suffer? This person that left, that was removed, that from however it may be, through someone else's hands, okay, he is no longer in pain. He's not laid up in the hospital due to a gunshot wound or paralyzed or nothing. He's no longer in pain. Yes, it doesn't rectify it. What I'm saying, it doesn't answer the questions. Yes, I know you want something done because what's inside of you is not resting. What's inside of your daughter is not resting. There's no peace. There's no peace there with it. The only way to get peace with it is to forgive. And that is a process in itself. That doesn't mean you agree. That doesn't mean that you think things were right or you think things were wrong. It's just going back to a neutral stance in it all. Nothing you can do, no one can do to bring him back. Even if you found the person and they went through a point of suffering themselves, that ain't gonna bring him back. So what would he want you to do? He would want you to live. He would want you to continue on your life and allow him to live through you. Because the bloodline never dies, baby. It's just our minds and our hearts that die. But the bloodline never dies.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Concerning the situation, when I say your mind and hearts is dying, if you stop living, you start dying.
Mm.
If you stop living, if you continue, and I'm saying to always try to figure it out. I need to figure it out. I need to. You know how many cold cases we have in America alone?
Mm.
Unsolved cases
Yeah.
of families that's waiting at some point to find out who did what. And even when they find them, well, okay, oh, that made me feel better, but ain't nothing gonna change because
Right.
that person is no longer there. But
Yeah.
they would want you to, because they love you. They don't want you to suffer.
Right.
They don't want you to suffer mentally, emotionally, no kind of way. Let the bloodline live on. Let him live on through you. You let them say, well, if he's not physically here, so we're going to live for him.
Right.
We're not going to feel angry. We're going to live in joy for him. We're going to live in peace for him. That's how you replenish the life that has
Yeah.
been lost.
Absolutely. Rashida, let me throw this thought out to you that may be helpful if you're able to accept it. Every soul that comes here with a life plan of something that they wanted to accomplish. Sometimes it's going to take, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, and they plan that. Sometimes it might take only 3, 4, 5 years. People come here with a plan to have an impact on the world around them. They come for their soul to learn lessons. And sometimes they choose a kind of death that's going to have an impact in changing things in the world. There are souls who choose to leave this world through an act of violence for various reasons. Sometimes it's to awaken those who are left to change things. You look at something horrible like a mass shooting, and I know this is a different thought for a lot of people, but I want you to grasp this. We come here in soul groups sometimes, people that we've had many life experiences with as a group. And people may choose to leave in a group in a way that will change the society, such as a mass shooting, which those souls had the intention of sparking a change to get rid of this extreme gun culture. So we as human beings often have to be shocked into doing what's right. I mean, we could choose to do what's right. We could choose to live in a society where nobody carried guns and everybody treated each other fairly and kindly, and we fed the hungry and all that. But we are somehow stuck on the idea that we have to be shocked into doing what's right. So there are souls who choose to leave in such a way that awakens those who are left behind so that they can make changes in the society. This is a different way of seeing it, but once you see it that way, that's what can calm your soul, because you have to know that no death is accidental. Everybody comes here with several different exit points that they can choose, ways that they can choose to leave. You come into the body, you got to figure out how you're going to get out of this body. Some people choose to just exit peacefully, those who choose to, leave in their sleep, and some they may choose to leave instantly in a car accident or a heart attack. But believe it, as an eternal soul, life is a choice that you're making and a plan that you make before you come here. So there is nothing that happens without a reason. And as Dr. Debbie said, your loved one, your grandson, is not intending for you to be suffering, but for you to grow to a level of understanding so that you may heal all of those things inside of you that have been hurt for too long. Whether you're feeling helpless, whether you're feeling like a victim, whether you're feeling afraid, your grandson wants you to grow so that you can master this life in the way that you're intending to. So you're experiencing this death as a catalyst for your spiritual growth. And it's necessary for you to seek that information that's going to allow you to grow so that you can get beyond this point where you're stuck in grief. And then once you transcend this point that you're at, you'll be able to help other people because you've been through it. And we don't always know what the soul plan is until we leave this earth, but you have to know that his death was his choice for a reason. And he's living where he's living and not wanting you to grieve. So,
Oh, right. Okay.
We got another call. I guess we got a moment to take.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got two more calls. Let's see. 773-996, and then after that, we're going to take 773-977. Got about a minute for each of you all to make your comment. Go right ahead.
Okay, good morning, sir. Cool James.
Yes. Good morning.
I came in the world and found out I'm a special person. So
we all are.
Would find out who I was. Huh?
I said we all are. Everybody's special.
Huh?
Everybody's special. That's why we're here.
That's what other people told me when I was.
We got the 5 minutes, so let him.
Right.
You're teaching people. You're healing people.
Great.
You're showing people a way. I'm a natural person then, and I'm a natural person now.
All right. Well, we thank you, Kofi. Keep on teaching.
I'm a special, and there is no death.
Absolutely.
There is no death.
That is it. And that's good that you have discovered that, because that's the lesson we got to teach for those who don't understand it yet. 773-977. You got a minute. Go right ahead with your comment or question for Dr. Debbie. 773-977. Your mic is open. Go right ahead.
Good morning. Glory be to God. This is Lois in Chicago. And,
yes,
and I'm enjoying everyone today. But I want to tell Obadiah, take that $100 and turn it into 1,000 or something. Don't play us so cheap if you're going to start something. I feel that our children have been killed back in way before Emmett Till. And Regina, my heart goes on. My heart feels sympathy to you because I know it hurts. It hasn't happened to me, but I can just imagine how you and so many of my other friends feel having had your child or grandchild just shot down like a dog or worse than a dog. They care more about the dogs than they do our children. You kill a dog nowadays, you're going to serve some time. But back in the cotton field, they killed our children, our people. They took our girls and raped them when they got ready to do it. Even if you find out who's done it, for example, Emmett Till, they don't do anything to them.
Well, that's the thing.
People we've seen shot down. What have they done to them? So I suggest that we get together with somebody like Willie Wilson. Willie Wilson has money to do a lot of things with. We can form our own African American tribe.
Well, Lois.
All of the unsolved homicides in the Chicago area and all over the world.
Yes.
Willie Wilson can start with. They pay us every family, the next of kin, $5,000 for not solving the crime, and I'll bet they'll stop all this killing they're doing.
Well, all right, Lois, we'll take a look at that. And but one of the things, and we thank you so much for calling, Lois. We only got about a minute or so left, but we thank you for calling. And we got to think about, how do you be at peace even if nothing is done after someone's killed? And the whole thing is your own inner peace, because it's your body who is being hurt when you are in grief. And Dr. Debbie, last one.
All right. I just want everyone just to be mindful of life experiences. Again, we come here in our mother's womb being impacted by her emotions, impacted by her actions, every sound that we hear, every touch that we feel. And as we enter into this place called life, we're going to constantly be impacted. It's not the problem of being the impaction, is how you are viewing it. What's your perception in life? Because one can think of the worst situations over and over and over again, look at the worst situations over and over again, and, continue to feel like the victim that life has made us sometimes. But I want to encourage you today to look at yourself from a platform of being, not doing. You're no longer being the target. You're no longer being the target of life, but make the target of life in a whole nother aspect, which means you are not the target. Life is the target. So when life is the target, that means that even if you've been impacted by whatever, even when things have overflowed you, even when you don't understand, even when things seem like they're overwhelming, because like you said, it's good emotions, but then there's negative emotions. We're 80-20 people. We're 80-20. The negative emotions is what we remember the most. The ones that are full of joy, they're just there like whispers in the night. So be encouraged. Be encouraged today that you have the strength to pull yourself out of the fire so that you can control your emotions, and then you can control life, and then you can live a life of abundance that God has created you to live. Be encouraged. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today on Soulful Solution. And Zelda, I got that memo, baby. You're right. This should be an ebook. I felt that the universe was talking to me, and I know that's truth. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Facebook, for watching. Blog Talk for listening. God bless you, and stay empowered in your life. And don't forget, you matter.
Amen. Peace.
We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every show in the archive
join me out on Health and Wellbeing tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, on the Female Solution.
You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/The Female Solution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at